Hello and welcome in. Tim and Bryan here, talking a little bit fantasy football. Doing something different today. Instead of DFS best ball, we're going to talk a little redraft today. And we're going to talk a little draft strategy, picking some players that we just simply won't draft this season. So check it out right here on FantasyNow Plus.
You're watching Fantasy Now Plus.
All right, today, like I said at the top, we're going to look at some players that we really just don't want on our rosters for our redraft teams this year. We're going to go position by position. We each got one player. And let's just talk about it. Let's just hop right in. Tim, I want you to kick us off here with your first running back.
Absolutely. My do not draft running back in redraft this year is Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. Listen, I know he's relatively affordable. His ADP is not ridiculously bad by any stretch, but he just isn't a redraft player for me. He's just not. The Panthers offense is probably going to be mediocre to bad again. It's very unlikely that they just elevate into like a top 12 offense for no particular reason. Like they don't have any major additions that would propel them that much. Like Bryce Young would have to take like the most unimaginable step forward possible. And to be honest, I think Hubbard's going to lose a decent amount of work to Jonathan Brooks throughout the season as long as Brooks stays healthy. And here's the thing. Even if Brooks gets injured again, even if he's not good enough to take the job, this is a low ceiling, relatively low floor running back that just, are you ever going to really feel that comfortable starting him as your flex, as your RB2? I'm not. He's not going to really strike joy when he's in my lineup. He's just not. I'm just going to be like, oh God, I'm starting Chuba Hubbard. I'm praying for 12 points. I don't want to start those types of players in redraft. I don't want them clogging my rosters. Obviously, you do need floor on a redraft team. You do need some safe points, but I just don't think Chuba's that safe. And to be honest with you, his ADP just isn't low enough for me to really feel good clicking the button. He goes anywhere from the 70s to the 90s on most platforms. A little later in a few platforms, and maybe I'll consider it in like the 100s plus past the 10th round in a 12-man league. But for the most part, I'm out on Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, this is a player that I think you just need to wait on and see if you get a value. Because there's a lot of yellow flags. I don't want to say they're red flags just yet, but the emergence of Jonathan Brooks in training camp reports, how everything's are kind of progressing with the Panthers. You know, they did give him a new contract recently. However, they still had Rico Dowdle play a ton last year.
Yeah.
We don't really know for sure how real this offense is truly. And he also just got a little banged up. We're still talking out here we're still a couple weeks away from the actual week 1 start, but I don't blame you. I think it's a pretty good fade. For me, this one hurts, especially it's my hometown team, but Trevion Henderson, I have a hard time clicking here. There's just too much, 50-50 split between him and Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
Everything out of camp is telling me Ramondre is still going to be number 1. Trevion Henderson is going to be out of the 1B. He's going to be mixed in on third down, not necessarily always third down back. We don't really know if his pass pro is getting better.
Yeah.
Unclear if his vision got better. And you just don't know when to start him. He is a true home run hitter, which is great. We love that. We love just massive points on our fantasy team. Do you know when they're going to happen? Because I certainly don't.
Yeah.
In his rookie season, despite being a second-round pick, he still had to beat out Austin Eckler. Sorry, and Antonio Gibson. I got mixed up for the former Commanders running backs. Antonio Gibson as well as Ramondre Stevenson to see time. And he needed both injuries for him to finally get the massive workload that he got. and then he exploded and showed what he could do on the football field. I don't think he will wait that long again to do something, but the price is too high. It just feels like there's plenty of other names around his draft spot that I feel more comfortable selecting. So
Yeah.
Houston right now for me is just a fade. I don't know if I can do it, and it hurts. It hurts my soul.
Yep. I definitely am with you there. He's going in the 50s, the 60s, fifth to sixth round, and you don't even know when to start him. Like, he's probably going to be on your bench for at least the first couple of weeks until we can figure out how the Patriots' backfield plays out. I can get basically the same exact bet in RJ Harvey on the Broncos and like the hundreds, 5 rounds later, 6 rounds later. And the bet is about the same. You've got a second round pick on a good offense that has a nebulous running back room around them, but like the playing time is a question mark and the role is a question mark. And I like Henderson more as a player. I think he's more talented than Harvey, but I just, in the 50s and the 60s in redraft, I don't want to spend my 5th round pick on someone who's going to be on my bench.
And what's going to hurt the most is when he does have those blowout games on your bench. You queue him up next week in your flex, and he lets you down.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen too much, but that's the concern. That's what you're buying into. All right, on to wide receiver. I'll take the first crack here because I think we're both in agreement on this player. It's Courtland Sutton.
Yeah.
He is just the most uninteresting wide receiver that you could select, maybe in the whole draft.
Yeah.
And right now he's going in around like the 9th round. That's both late enough where you're like, sure, whatever. I'll pick the number 2 receiver on the Broncos. But there's also still more exciting high end options that I think would just be more useful for your fantasy roster.
Yeah.
Courtland Sutton is probably locked and loaded for like 8 points a game.
Yeah.
Okay. with the emergence of Jalen Waddle, rather the addition of Jalen Waddle on that offense and the slow rise for Pat Bryant, the drum beat there is slowly gaining steam.
Yep.
Sutton might not get the same amount of volume that he's got previously that made him great for fantasy.
Yeah.
I think he is just a fine wideout. He's probably a better NFL wide receiver than he is a fantasy football wide receiver, and truly not a very interesting pick for me. So he's going to be sitting on the draft board, and I'll click past him every single time.
Yep. Full agree there. There are much more interesting players in that range that I would rather take my shots on. He goes around players like Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr., even like Michael Wilson, Jordan Tyson. Like, these guys have true upside to truly, you feel great about starting them when their situation has figured itself out. Courtland Sutton, you're never going to feel, the only way he ever pays off his ADP is if Jalen Waddle gets hurt, which is a possibility for sure, but I don't really want to spend my 9th round pick on an older wide receiver whose only out is everything went wrong. I'm the only guy left again. Like, that doesn't really help me in redraft. It just doesn't. So with you there, my wide receiver is going to be kind of a similar bet in a similar range. It's DK Metcalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know that he's a talented receiver. I know that we love that he's an athletic freak. I get that. He doesn't fit Aaron Rodgers at all from a schematic perspective. He had almost no competition at all for targets last year. Still didn't really do all that much with it. He was perfectly average, perfectly fine. And now he has a legitimate OC / head coach in Mike McCarthy, which does help a little bit. But Rodgers is 1 year older. They have an even stronger running back room, arguably, than they had last year. And they added Michael Pittman Jr. and Jeremy Bernard, who are basically the perfect fits for Aaron Rodgers. They're going to stay shallow. They're going to be underneath. They're going to operate over the middle of the field. And that's where Rodgers likes to throw, because Rodgers doesn't like taking hits. He doesn't like, getting sacked. He doesn't like getting behind the chains. And he doesn't have the ability to extend plays anymore like he did in his prime. So I just think DK Metcalf is a fun, real life NFL wide receiver, but he has a limited ceiling on an offense that we're not even that sure about. He doesn't fit his quarterback very well, and he's the most expensive Steelers wide receiver, and that just doesn't really sit well with me in redraft. Again, I'm never going to feel good starting him. He probably will give you a couple 20-point weeks. He is a good player. He does have explosiveness, but I'll never know when to start him. I'll never feel good starting him. I would rather he be like my second or third flex in a deeper redraft league, and you have to pay 6th, 7th, 8th round prices for DK Metcalf.
That's the toughest part. It's the uncertainty. Like, we only have so many weeks to win our games, right? And trying to guess when DK Metcalf hits a slant for 99 yards is a tough bet to make every week.
Yep.
So, hey, not a bad look to start fading some of Aaron Rodgers' targets, because, yeah, when Kenny Gainwell was the leading reception or the leading target earner on that team last season, it definitely puts in question the quarterback play over in Pittsburgh. Now, for the tight end, I think yours is an interesting one because people are excited, and they should be, but maybe not at that price point.
I don't even know if they should be, but my tight end is Isaiah Likely, newly signed to the New York Football Giants. And for me, the calculus is pretty simple. I know that he has flashed a few times for the Baltimore Ravens in the past. And outside of those couple games that he's flashed, he's never, ever produced on a football field, ever. And this is a Matt Nagy offense. If you didn't know that or don't remember that, that is who the Giants signed for offensive coordinator this season. And yes, we're excited about Jackson Dart. We hope he takes a step this year. We hope he continues to improve. Malik Neighbors looks to be pretty close to fully healthy. He's going to play earlier in the season than we thought all summer, for sure. Cam Scattaboo is back healthy. So on paper, it seems great. He's the second target on an offense with good young players, but the scheme is simply not a good fit for Likely, and he's still not a good blocker. So there's questions if he'll be out there in 11 personnel and 12 personnel. He's basically a tight end that plays wide receiver, which that's basically the only way this pays off, is if he's legitimately just lining up as their slot or outside wide receiver at all times, which is totally possible because boy, oh boy, is that wide receiver core bad. But he's expensive. He really is. I don't want to take him as the tight end 12 to 14 off the board in redraft. I just don't, especially looking at the players that he goes around. He goes around Dalton Kincaid, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews, Hunter Henry, Jawan Johnson. I feel so much better about all of those guys' playing time, about their floor, and I think they have similar ceilings. To me, I think the main thing with Likely is that I don't see the ceiling case that his price indicates. He's not going to be this 120 plus target number 2 that just absolutely sun runs on touchdowns or big plays or anything like that. I think he's going to play behind Theo Johnson a lot. He probably isn't going to get as much red zone looks as you would want for a tight end, which is where they score most of their points. And I don't trust Matt Nagy to call an offense that is able to feature Isaiah Likely. Like, he made Patrick Mahomes play like Jared Goff, like, respectfully, and there's a huge talent gap between those two quarterbacks, but it didn't look like it anytime Matt Nagy was at the helm. So I just don't trust the offense to be able to elevate Isaiah Likely, and I don't think Isaiah Likely is good enough to elevate himself in the way that like a Neighbors or a Scattaboo is.
Yeah, Likely is just a interesting case where I think it's just the coaching staff I hate so much.
Yeah.
The offensive brain trust that's over there with Brian Callahan and Greg Roman, you're just thinking, I don't know about this one, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, tough to buy in. And when you also have to feel as though the other wide receivers that no other wide receiver can get through, I know OBJ, I'm pretty sure just limped off the field, or maybe it wasn't even him. Who knows? Saying that he's the wide receiver 2 on that team is already enough that you need to know that this offense is going to be a weird one to bet on. So, hey, I feel you, and maybe getting a discount on Isaiah Likely might turn our heads, but for now, we'll leave him there.
Yep.
And last name I want to mention, and we kind of already know it. I think everyone in your heart of hearts already knows you got to fade this person. It's Kyle Pitts. We can't trust the fact that he had one massive week in week 14 and suddenly is now a top 3 tight end. I cannot, in my heart of hearts, believe that is replicable.
Yep.
He is totally talented. We've seen it. He can do it. However, the combination of Tua and Michael Penix should strike a little concern and a little hesitation into your heart, because Drake London will lead that team in targets.
Mm-hmm.
Bijan Robinson will absolutely demand the ball, probably in an exorbitant amount of times. It's probably something that we don't even know yet. Like 20 carries, 10 catches, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
So where does that leave Kyle Pitts in terms of pieces of that pie? Not very little. So he's going to have to do a lot with very few targets, most likely. And that doesn't seem like a very exciting weekly play for me. I think there's certainly value somewhere down the line as like a bye week fill-in. But I don't know if I want to draft him this year unless there's some crazy fall in your draft. So Kyle Pitts, again, I'm not ready to get hurt again. I will play smarter. I will learn my lesson and not draft Kyle Pitts this year.
Yeah. Definitely get this one. He's not a traditional tight end. You would think with Tua, he would love to target the tight end in this offense, but Kyle Pitts doesn't run those kinds of routes. He doesn't operate at that kind of depth. He is a deep ball tight end, which again is going to give you some spike weeks. It's going to give you some week winning weeks. It's also going to give you some 2 points and 3 points and 4 points. And like, that's fine at the tight end position, but you have to take him pretty early at this point. Like, he goes in the 60s, the 70s. He goes around players that are safer with a safer floor and a similar ceiling. Players like Tucker Kraft, Sam Laporta, Harold Fannin Jr. even. I would just rather have all of them. And I trust the players more. I trust the offenses more outside of the Browns, but I think Fannin is way better than Pitts as a talent. And yeah, I'm with you. He's expensive. I would rather he be in the 100s like he was last year. Last year, he was a good pick and he paid off for you. This year, we're back to paying up for 5th overall pick 6 years ago now. Like, it's hard to buy in. It's hard to really be too excited about this offense. And I think we're paying for his ceiling and hoping that we actually get his ceiling.
And I get it. Kevin Stefanski's there. He's done some great things with some bad offenses, but I will happily be wrong on this one. I'll let someone else take the shot. Now, notably, you may have seen that we didn't really talk about quarterbacks. And we were chatting before this. We had a couple names that we were like, not really my favorite type of draft player, but yet, like, the value seems good enough and they seem safe enough. and we kind of just decided nothing felt right to discuss about fading a quarterback. Now, like I'll start with who I was going to fade. I'll let Tim talk about who he had just for a few seconds here. But ultimately, I was going to fade Jordan Love, but he's going as like the QB 18 to the QB like 20 range, and that's not really fade worthy. Like he might not even be drafted in your draft. I think
Yeah.
he probably will be. I think there's always a Packers fan somewhere in your league, but Jordan Love is not really someone that has a lot of high ceiling, but he has a high enough floor for you to always be solid every week. And just thought he was not very interesting in terms of a pick. That there's really not a lot of like running in his game, but yet like he's still better than a bunch of other quarterbacks, and he'll always be useful as a streamer. And so fading him in your drafts is kind of no point because he might not even go. Like you might not even need to pick him. And if you
Yeah.
pick him as your second quarterback, that's fine. So,
Yeah.
that was my almost fade. And I just don't think I felt strong enough to really say I'm not going to draft him, because there will be times where I look at him and be like, okay, whatever. Made 16th round, sure.
Yep. Yeah. And real quickly, mine was going to be Jackson Dart, but at the end of the day, it's kind of pulling hairs. Like he's the QB9. There's probably like 3 or 4 QBs I would take him over, but they all go within like a round of each other anyways. So it's really just kind of like nitpicking and being picky for the sake of it. Again, we just talked about the Matt Nagy offense. It does give me pause. He does seem wildly uninterested in the belief that concussions are real, unfortunately. So, like, there is some injury risk there, but he still is a rushing quarterback with high Konami code ability. He's going to have a rushing floor. He's going to have rushing touchdowns. He has an elite wide receiver to throw to. He has a good pass catching running back. So, like, everything's there for Dart, and I totally get the ADP. I probably won't personally take him, but I don't think he's a do not draft. And I think that speaks more to kind of the larger point that we came to the conclusion of about the quarterback position, which is this. There's all of the running Konami code quarterbacks are cheaper than they have been in a long time this year. They're all anywhere from, outside of Josh Allen, he's still third, fourth round picks in most formats. He's fine if you really think he's going to separate, but Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, even like Drake May, Caleb Williams, all these guys, 6th round, 7th round, even 8th round on some platforms, like those are great picks. So if you think the quarterback you're drafting can finish inside the top 5, you should take him at his ADP. And if you don't have any quarterbacks on the board that you think can finish top 5, just wait. Just keep fading. You can stream 2 of these guys very late and get pretty much the exact same production as the QB7 or the QB8. You can get that in the QB 16, 17, 18, anything like that, The difference between someone like Baker Mayfield, Tyler Shuck, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, and the difference between Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, even like Dak Prescott, in any given year, it's likely to be like 1 to 2 fantasy points per game at most. It's basically negligible. You want a top quarterback, and obviously most of these quarterbacks have that in their range of outcomes. Like you need certain things to go their way for sure, but Bo Nix has been a top 5 quarterback. Baker's been a top 5 quarterback. We've had Justin Fields as a top 5 quarterback in the last 5 years. Like there's a lot of different guys that can get there. And if you don't know for certain that you're getting one of those guys, or feel very confident that as long as they stay healthy, they're going to be up there, just wait. Just, if you're allowed to not take a quarterback at all, I would recommend doing that and just stream it once the season starts. If you have to take one late, take Kyler Murray for rushing upside, take Malik Willis for rushing upside. Basically, we just decided, there's no quarterback whose cost is just like ill. Like, obviously, some of the very late guys, like, I wouldn't recommend streaming them by any means. Like, I don't think you should be trotting out Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith every week, but they're not getting drafted. So it's not really your problem. You can stream the position pretty easily in 1 QB leagues, even a 12-team league. If it's less than that, 10-person, 8-person, like, just take a top guy or don't take anyone.
And it's simple as that. It's a very unique position. Obviously, if you're in Superflex, things change completely.
Yeah.
But I think the ADP drafters, rather all the drafters in the middle of the summer, kind of nailed it, and they've really helped the ADP give us some discounts on a lot of good players.
Yeah.
All right, last bonus position here.
Ooh.
Defense and special teams. It's redraft, so everyone's playing some defenses anyway. And these are these are just the groups that we're gonna avoid. And
Yep.
my real quick one, the Chicago Bears. They're a little banged up. They're playing in a very difficult division. They're playing a lot of good offenses twice.
Yep.
And they had a ton of turnover luck last season. I don't know if that's going to stay the same. It's probably going to regress a little bit. So I would fade the Bears. I know the whole team is very exciting right now in fantasy football, but I think the defense you can pass on for now.
Yep. Definitely agree with that. My bonus defense, I'm fading the Bills. I know we think of the Bills as, oh, this is a good team. They play in a weak division outside of the Patriots. I would love 2 matchups against the Dolphins and 2 matchups against the Jets. And I agree with that. However, let me read you the rest of their opponents for this season. We're going to start out with the Texans in week 1. Probably one of the weaker teams they're going to face offensively. Then we face the Lions, the Chargers, the Patriots, the Rams. We get a break and face the Raiders, but we're still feeling okay about their chances. Then we face the Ravens, the Vikings. Then we finally face the Jets and Dolphins. Then it's the Chiefs, the Patriots again, the Packers, the Bears, the Broncos, and we finish out with the Dolphins and Jets. So do not touch this defense. If they're available to stream against the Jets or Dolphins, feel free. They have the hardest schedule I have ever seen for a team DST, but people are still going to draft them because it's the Bills and you want to draft defenses of quote unquote good teams. Just don't touch them this year. That schedule is awful.
Seems bad. Seems like a very unfun time to stream that defense. Hey, and that's going to be it for today. That is our small little list of players we don't want to draft. So let us know down below in the comments who you're avoiding. How wrong are we? If you agree, just let us know. Give us a shout and make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit the bell icon so you always know when we have our next little bit of content coming out. Again, as always, I'm Bryan Rockwood, alongside me, Tim Holstad. And this has been FantasyNow Plus, and thank you for tuning in.